So, all right, guys, let's do this. So, I'm here to talk about why 360 VR video is the future of social media marketing. All right, and before I even jump into anything, I want to make a quick little definition here, right? So it says 360 VR video. And technically, it's 360 video and VR, virtual reality. There's crossover. They're in that 360-degree world, but they're technically different. However, over the last few months, I've kind of noticed that the consumer market is kind of starting to call them the same thing. 360, VR, it's all the same. So I don't think that the definition for me to sit here and say, well, you know, I'm a purist as to say 360 video, I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think 360 VR is kind of what everyone's going to say it is and what they're going to call it. So that's what I'm going to call it, 360 VR, all right? So before I get into this, I want to jump back 20 years ago, all right? When my opportunity in life, what I wanted to do is I wanted to be a pro rollerblader in the mid-90s. Yeah, because that was cool for like 5 years. But seriously, that's what I wanted to be. 20 years ago, pro rollerblader. I was really good. I competed on the amateur circuit. A lot of my friends were pros in the X Games, Gravity Games, Do Tours. So I was surrounded by really a lot of great people. I was pretty good. But that's what I wanted to do. And think about 20 years ago, you know, for example, as I wanted to get better, I had to look at, well, what are the next tricks? How do you do this? And what did we have to look at? I had magazines. This is Daily Bread's actual magazine from the mid-90s, Rollerblader magazines, right? I had Daily Bread magazine, and then there was about like 8 skate videos that would come out every single year. So me and my friends, we'd look in the magazine, see the pictures, watch some of these videos, and go like, oh, awesome. How do you think he did that? I don't know. And we throw ourselves down flights of stairs and either knock ourselves out or figure out how to do the trick, right? So I think my mom's happy that that career trajectory didn't work out. But think about it in today's terms. If I was a skater or a snowboarder and I wanted to learn how to do a rodeo flip, I'd go to YouTube, how to do rodeo flip, and I'd find 75 videos explaining exactly how to do it, and I'd watch it, and probably 3 hours later, without cracking my head open, I'd figure out how to do a rodeo flip. But back then, none of that existed. And so what we were doing, and what I did at the time at least, is we would get a video camera, digital 8, high 8, right? Mid-90s, that was like super high tech. And we would film it. We would film what we did all day, because we were serious. We really wanted to be pro. And we would take it back, and we'd watch it like game tape and figure out like, oh, you did this wrong. This was really good. You over-rotated there. And we'd try to figure out and get better. And then one morning I woke up, and I was like, wait a minute. Why am I filming myself? Yeah, I want to be a pro rollerblader, but why am I filming myself when I'm surrounded by all these actual pros? So I'm like, why don't I start to make a skate video? So that's what I did. I started to film all these pros, traveled around with them, went to the X Games, all that great fun stuff. Filmed it, learned how to edit. And also a throwback to any tech people here, I learned how to edit on Adobe Premiere version 1.1. And so I did that, and of course, being a 16-year-old kid with bravado, I called up Video Action Sports, which at the time was the #1 distributor of action sports content videos, and I said, I have the next best skate video, you're going to distribute and sell it. And they were like, who the hell, first of all, who the hell are you? But okay, send us your video, we'll check it out. I did, they loved it. I sold like 5,000 copies, which for a 17-year-old kid with a $9 royalty, you can do the math in your head, that was pretty friggin' great. And I went on to create other skate videos, and what started to happen as I got later into the 90s and the early 2000s is I started to realize that obviously there's only 8 skate videos that would come out a year, but there were so many people that wanted to consume it, at least in that very niche market, and started to realize that there are so many people. For example, on the West Coast, that's where most of the videos came from. I was based on the East Coast. Nobody really knew who a lot of the pro skaters were on the East Coast. So I started saying, wow, why don't we start making some of this content, uploading it online where they could download it, because you couldn't stream back then. And that's what I started to get into, because I saw that there was an opportunity for people to consume content digitally. I had no idea where it was going to go, but this is pre-YouTube, right? And so that's what I did, and you know, I think what I realized back then in the 90s is 2 things. Number one, I was an entrepreneur. Making 40, 50 grand when you're 16, 17-year-old is pretty awesome, right? And I actually liked the business side better. And number 2, I knew that video and content, especially online, was going to be something. I had no idea how big it was going to be. right? So who am I? I'm the CEO of Bold Worldwide. We're an ad agency based here in New York. We mostly focus in on sports, fitness, athletic brands, lifestyle brands. And we have companies, clients as large as PepsiCo, Tropicana, all the way to regional chains of running stores and that kind of stuff. We've really focused in on that consumer market. And because the background with video that started 20 years ago, that's something that I've kept in this company and something that's a very big focus for us. So it was a natural progression when I saw 360 video VR starting to take place about a year ago, that it made sense for us to make a heavy investment into moving forward with that technology. Because as excited as I was 20 years ago about what video was going to do to the marketplace as a kid, now in 2016, it's a whole other ballgame. So for anybody who's living under or marketing under a rock, what is 360 video? So 360 video is exactly what it sounds like. In its simplest form, instead of filming one direction, right, not the band, an actual direction, instead of filming just one angle and one perspective, it now allows content creators, brands, to film literally 360 degrees. Front view, behind you, up and down. And then it allows the consumer to then watch that content the way that they want to watch it. Whatever perspective they want to see, what they think is important at the time, and they can consume it in 360 degrees. Right? And there's a few different ways in which they can consume it. I'm sure everybody now is probably pretty familiar with Oculus, Samsung Gear VR, the virtual reality headsets. You can consume it that way. So depending on where you look, it will show you what you're seeing, what was filmed. The other way is on a phone. Using your iPhone or your mobile phone, you can move it around, and the accelerometer does exactly the same thing. So if I'm looking in front of me, I'm seeing what was filmed here. And if I turn the phone backwards, I'm seeing what was behind, what was actually filmed. And then, of course, in its simplest form, still on desktop, you can go to YouTube or Facebook, and you can click and drag the video in 360 degrees. So it's pretty straightforward. But I also want to paint a picture of how new this really is. Let's think about this. YouTube only started to support 360 video last March. That's just over a year ago, right? Facebook only started to support 360 video in September, this last September. Was that 8 months ago or about now, right, give or take? So, but what's crazy is what has happened since 1 year ago, 13, 14 months ago, to today, has been an astronomical growth curve. Astronomical. Like nothing we've ever seen from a technology and content standpoint, right? You've got the New York Times, who knows that they need to figure out a way to get people to consume their content, their news in a new way. And they've already twice in the last year sent out Google Cardboard headsets and created VR content to where their customer base, their subscribers, can watch VR 360 videos. And there's a million other stories. But this has all happened in just over a year. So let's talk about what makes great 360 content. Because I can get into all the details about how to make it and the technology side, but I don't have enough time. That's a whole day, right? But what makes great 360 content? Number one, it needs to be immersive, right? You need to be able to put somebody in a time, in a place, in which they feel like they're almost really there. They might be on their couch, but you want them to feel like they're on that safari, or they're at the edge of that volcano, or they're in a race car. Whatever that might be, you want to make sure that they feel immersed in the situation. And you then have to give them a unique perspective. Because let's face it, if I put up a VR 360 camera here, right, or if I put one in some other place which you can already consume it that way, it's not that interesting. It's not unique. It has to be different. It has to be in a place to where it gives them a perspective they wouldn't have gotten had they been there in person or had they seen it in regular video. And number three, it has to be a great experience, right? Because if you create 360 content, and it's not exciting, it's not immersive, it's not cool, it doesn't give them an emotion, whether it's a positive, excitement, adrenaline, fear. If you don't create that good experience, then it's just a gimmick. Because you can create 360 content just to create 360 content because it's the next new cool thing. But the consumer doesn't really care. They want a great experience. That's what makes great 360. So I know that there's a lot of different people, different industries, different agencies that are here today. So I wanted to give a couple great examples of what industries can benefit from 360 video. And this is just a limited list, and it's not saying that any other industry can't, but these, I think, are some of the biggest examples that I think, and what we're seeing right now, to be the success. And I'm sure this will progress and change over time, but right now, basically 1 year in, this is what's working, right? Sports teams and sponsors, of course, right? Think about it from this perspective, right? If I can put you on the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl that's sold out, that you would normally never be able to buy a ticket for, but now you can view it from your couch in 360 degrees, and you can look behind you and see the crowd. You can look down the field and see the winning touchdown. That's incredible, right? Sponsors, it gives teams the opportunity to create content that they can place their sponsors in, right? It creates a lot of interactivity. The NCAA during the finals it wasn't perfected, but they did some tests where you could watch the NCAA finals from the floor seats, essentially, in 360 VR live. That's kind of incredible. And one other little side note is when I was showing you that graph, showing you what's happened in 1 year, right? I was speaking about this at Social Media Week about a month and a half ago here in New York, okay? And I had a bunch of other slides that said, what's the future of 360 content? And I had sat down with some of my friends over at Google on the YouTube 360 team, and I sat down with some of the people on the Facebook 360 team, and they had both said to me, hey, we're working on live streaming. It's going to happen this year, probably in the next few quarters. Since I did that speech a month and a half ago and today, YouTube does 360 live streaming. Which takes me to, I'm going to skip brands for a second. I'm going to talk about events. Because the first thing that YouTube did as a live stream 360 was Coachella. Right? I'm sure everybody kind of knows what Coachella is. You might like to wear the fringe and the headbands and stuff like that. But maybe you couldn't go there. You couldn't take the time out of your week to go to Coachella because we all have jobs, and it'd be really nice to take off a week to go to a music festival. But you could have watched it live in 360 on YouTube. And you could have, and it's still up there if you want to check it out. And what's incredible about that from an event perspective is A, people that wouldn't normally be able to get to the event can now watch it, right? And you're not just watching it like you would necessarily in a video that's being played back later. You're watching it where you can look behind you and see the crowd going nuts, and you can look at the stage, you can look to the right, you can look at the floor, and somebody getting passed by, whatever. Kind of incredible, right? Brands, I put this up there because I think it's not obvious. Brands can get involved, and some are doing a really great job of getting involved in 360, especially sports brands. Nike just did something recently, which was really kind of cool. But brands that are unrelated to sports but have something that can be exciting, that you can put in a different perspective. BMW just launched a 360 ad campaign last month, which was kind of really awesome. They had 6 cars and a supermodel. It was awesome to check it out. But brands can get in on this by tying themselves. If their product or service isn't exciting, they can tie themselves to something that is, right? I believe it was T-Mobile was a sponsor of Coachella. T-Mobile is not an exciting brand, but they sponsored the Coachella Live 360 event. That's how brands can get involved and already are. The other one that we're starting to see some of, but it's just scratching the surface, that I think is a no-brainer, is tourism, right? You've got National Geographic, which isn't a tourism company, but they are creating consistent content around the world to places that most of us would probably never get to visit, but would love to. The edge of volcanoes, Victoria Falls, amazing, incredible safaris, beautiful stuff that most people probably wouldn't be able to experience themselves. But in 360, you're not really there, but sometimes it feels like you are, and it gives you a different perspective, and you can consume it the way you want to consume it. So tourism is the obvious solution, an obvious choice. Because if I was a tourism company, right, if I wanted people to come to visit Denmark or something, I'm just using it as an example, right, I would create 360 content and show people how incredible Denmark is, and the cities and the visuals and everything that people didn't even know existed, because it's different. And I had somebody at Social Media Week ask me, who was in tourism for a very large country, and said, yeah, but don't you think that if we create 360 content, that people will just consume that and then they have no reason to go? Hell no, right? If you saw something so incredible in 360, wouldn't you have to experience that in real life? Right? It's marketing on a level we've never seen before. And then real estate. I've only seen a couple examples of real estate doing this because it's so new. But I think real estate is going to benefit from this big time. My wife and I are now looking for a new place, a new house. And let me tell you, in the New York, New Jersey real estate market, it's a pain in the ass. And you go to 20 places, and 19 of them are absolute crap. And you're like, really? You couldn't pay me to live here. Why are we seeing this? This looks nothing like the photos. But imagine if I could open my Trulia app or Zillow, and I could go and look, and I could say, OK, great, let me view this in 360. And I could walk around the house or look through the entire house, feeling in perspective what it was like to stand in the kitchen. I could very easily say, this place sucks, this one's terrible, but that one's awesome. Take me there right now. That's great for the consumer. That's great for the salesperson. That's great for the industry. These are just tools. And these are just things that I'm speculating on, but I'm starting to see some of this pop up. But I'm going to get right into the marketing stuff because that's why we're all here. How to use Facebook marketing to drive massive engagement and sales. And sales. Just says engagement, but we're talking about sales as well. Actual actionable actions through 360 video in Facebook. This is just one specific example. Show of hands real quick. How many people here have Facebook app installed on their phone? Does anyone not have Facebook app on their phone? One guy, why do you not have Facebook app? It's too much of a distraction. OK. So you're probably not the only guy in this entire room that doesn't have Facebook, but probably the only guy in New York who doesn't have Facebook. There you go. He doesn't have the app. But see that, look, almost 100% of this audience, with the exception of that guy, has Facebook app on their phone. And you all use it. 1 in every 5 minutes on mobile is spent on Facebook. I'm going to let that sink in for a second there. 1 in every 5 minutes on mobile is spent on Facebook. This is accurate. This is today. That's astronomical. Think about how much time is spent on Facebook. It's absurd. But it's awesome from a marketer's perspective, right? So, what we did is we had created a 360 video of New York City filmed in time lapse, right? We did this a couple months ago, and we did it for a couple reasons. I'm not just trying to promote our own stuff. I'll tell you how to view it in a second. But we did it for a couple reasons. Number one, we wanted to create the first ever 360 video filmed in New York City in time lapse. Not the first one ever. New York Times was the first one last year. But the first one in time lapse, right? So instead of just being video, it was also artistic. So we shot thousands of photographs in 360 degrees, stitched them all together. It was a much more complicated process. But we wanted to do that because we wanted to be the first to try that kind of artistic approach to 360. And then we wanted to leverage paid media on Facebook to promote it. And through that, we wanted to drive massive engagement, both organically and paid. And we wanted to see how it would perform. Because let me tell you, 3 months ago, you couldn't promote a Facebook video that was in 360. You couldn't do it. The technology didn't exist, right? Now you can. This is a month and a half ago, you could do it, right? So we wanted to do that. So if you want to take a look at the video, and if you're logged into the Wi-Fi here, I gave you the password earlier, you can check it out. Just go to your Facebook app. Don't go in a browser, and just search for Bold Worldwide, right? You'll find it. It's pinned to the top. You can check it out. It's not a promotion for us. This is if you want to experience it. Make sure you put your phone horizontal, and I don't care about the people around you. You can elbow them so you can get the whole cool experience. I would play it up here, but I have limited time. So if you want to take a look at it now, great. If you want to save it for later, that's great too. Here's the results. I'm going to cut right to the chase, right? 733,000 video views, over 2.3 million people reached, almost 25,000 reactions, comments, and shares. Over 10,000 of them, I think 11,000 were shares alone. 8,000 comments, something ridiculous. And 442,000 people reached organically. Now, Bold isn't some huge consumer brand that has 10 million or 100 million Facebook likes, right? We're an ad agency. Who gives a shit about an ad agency, right? Nobody's like, ooh, let me like this ad agency Facebook page so I can see them talk about marketing, right? Maybe some of you will. But outside of this room, not too many. But we reached over 400,000 people organically, right? And here were some of the reactions, right? Ryan Buckley, to, I guess, his brother or cousin or something, this video is what I'm talking about. It is the future. Theodore, I showed this to someone in China, and the first thing she said, is this magical? Yes, my dear, it's magical. What's incredible is obviously, the reach, the engagement, all that stuff is awesome, but people are raving fans about this video. And one of the reasons is a lot of them haven't seen 360 video before. Do you know how many people, if I went into this and showed you, how many people commented, "Why do I only see the floor?" Because they didn't know that they had to move their phone. That's how new this is. And one more comment from Zachary. "Cool, I was shitting on my toilet in New York, and then I was in New York. The future is here." Yes, Zachary, the future is here. What is the best part? We only spent $3,000. Yeah. We spent $3,000 and got over 700,000 views. That's less than half of 1 penny per view. Now, they weren't just views. People liked, shared, tagged their friends, put their mother in it. You have to check this out. Quality views of people that really liked the content. For a half a penny, we got hundreds of thousands of views. For a half a penny. Find me that. Find me anywhere that you can pay a half a penny and get people to watch your shit and then like it and share it and actually enjoy it. Good luck. But why? It's because, A, the content was good. I'm not saying it's the best brilliant content of all time, 360 video in New York City, but it was really good. It was targeted well on Facebook, right? And it was in 360. So people were excited about it. It fulfilled all three of the tiers that we were talking about earlier. Facebook paid media was the fuel to the 360 video fire. And here's the other thing about this, right? And one of the reasons why I asked you guys, how many of you have Facebook mobile on your phone? Now, this will change. This is going to be different probably in the next 4, 5, 6, 12 months. But right now, if you, let's say, it's up on YouTube as well, but there's a reason we didn't promote it there, and there's a reason I didn't tell you to go to YouTube to watch it. Because right now, if you go to YouTube and watch it from a link in your browser on your cell phone, almost every iOS and almost every other operating system can't play it, so it doesn't work. But if you have the Facebook app on your phone, it will work because it's now native content in Facebook. And almost every single one of you who are on mobile access Facebook through the app. You're not logging in through Safari. So I know, and we know, that if I target people on Facebook on mobile 360 video, I'm almost guaranteed that everyone can watch it. I can't do that on YouTube yet. It'll happen, but I can't do that right now. So what were the major keys to success? Create really great fucking content. Guys, I don't care if it's 360 video, create really great fucking content. Nobody wants to see your bullshit, boring crap. They don't. You guys don't want to see it. Why the fuck would they? You're consumers. But sometimes when we put on the marketer hat, we're like, oh, but we need to sell this thing really hard. Nobody wants to see that shit. You don't. You're not like, oh, wow, look at this banner ad that just popped up and covered the screen. This looks interesting. Nobody in here says that. In the real world, the consumers out there, nobody says that. It's all about creating great content. And again, 360 video is absolutely no exception. And that's how you can make it really successful. But this applies to just marketing in general. And then number 2, incorporate your brand creatively. Right? Ours was a little bit different. But if you're a brand or you're working for a brand and you're creating 360 video, incorporate it creatively. And here's why. This is my biggest fear with 360 video. You know somewhere there will be a boardroom with 20 people at the C-suite level who say, wait a minute, they can look anywhere they want, but our logo's here. What if they're looking behind? They're not going to see our logo. So you know what? We need a logo in front. We need a logo behind. We need one on the sky and the floor. That conversation will happen. You know it will. And that scares me because the consumer then won't care. It's not cool anymore. It's not fun. It's not immersive because you're just blasting them with your logo. But 360 is creative. Think about the product placement opportunities. When you look around, you can incorporate, you can put a Pepsi bottle on the table, whatever it might be, whatever the client is, right? Incorporate it creatively. The possibilities are endless. And then leverage Facebook marketing the right way. I'm focusing on Facebook specifically for 2 reasons. Number 1, the attention is there. Every single one of you, exception of this guy, has Facebook app on their phone in this room, and you probably all checked it on the break. The attention is there 1 in every 5 minutes on mobile. The attention is there, number 1. Number 2, I know that I can target it correctly, and I know that if I target it on mobile correctly, that people can see my 360 video natively. I can't do that with another platform. This may change. This may be a very different keynote in 6 months, but right now, that's the solution. And the opportunity is now. Let me do another quick poll. How many people in this room have the YouTube app, the native YouTube app, installed on their phone? Maybe like 60%-ish. How many of you go to the YouTube app before you look up a video, or instead of just looking on Safari? How many go to the YouTube app first and then look? Like nobody. You see? That's why we target on Facebook. For now. Here's the other thing, right? Now I'm going to use YouTube as an example. There is over 1 billion, with a B, 1 billion hours of video content on YouTube right now. Billion. I did a search last night to try to figure out roughly, because there's no public stats about this, but you can search and just categorize by 360 video right now. There's about 100,000 videos on YouTube that are in 360. 100,000. That may sound like a lot, but in comparison to 1 billion, it doesn't even show up on the chart. 1 billion or 100,000. If you upload a regular video to YouTube right now, the second you upload it, you're buried in billions of videos. And I'm sorry, it's not billions, 1 billion hours, it's billions of videos. That's even crazier, right? So you're covered, you're just buried. The minute you upload something, you're buried with billions and billions of hours of content the second you upload it. But 360 is different. There's only 100,000 videos that are in 360 right now. And you know what? 80% of them suck. There's maybe like 10,000 or 5,000 at most really good 360 videos, at most. I'm not being very generous. So if you create really great 360 content, obviously Facebook's the #1 choice, but you should also be on YouTube because that's the search engine for video, right? And if you create really great content in 360 and upload it to YouTube, people will find it. Do you know how many consumers are looking for the great 360 video right now? Millions. Because it's so cool. And you know what? And how much time do I have left? What time is it? 11:04. Okay. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I'll give you one other quick example before I do. Right? Why the opportunity is now. Gaming, which I hadn't mentioned before. Right? Gaming is the key to this industry's astronomical growth, and we're just at the very beginning, right? Why is that? All right. Is anyone familiar with the website Twitch? A few of you. For the rest of you that don't know what Twitch is, you should probably check it out. As marketers, you should understand what this is. Whether or not it applies to you, your industry, it doesn't matter. You should be aware of it. So Twitch is a website where gamers go and they play video games and they stream or upload their video game play. And then people watch them play video games. I'm not a gamer, so to me, I'm like, that's silly. And to the rest of you, you're probably like, well, that's silly. Why would anyone want to watch a game? It doesn't matter. The top YouTuber is a gamer who uploads his stuff and comments on it. The top, like 30 million subscribers. I think it's more now. Tens of millions of people are watching this happen. And guess what? Minecraft, which is one of the most popular games online, now allows users to export and upload 360 video of their gameplay, right? And gamers, because Oculus Rift finally launched, and they launched with dozens and dozens of games, so all these people that finally have Oculus Rift, that have Samsung Gear VR, all this virtual reality stuff, right? They want to play these games, and now they're watching other people play games, and they're watching in 360. They can consume it the way they want to consume it. These are tens and tens of millions of consumers who are going to natively watch 360 video. How obvious of a transition is it to go from watching 360 content or 360 video gameplay to watching 360 marketing? And I don't necessarily mean like an ad, like a traditional ad, but something that is from a brand or from an agency or something like that, that is technically marketing, but again, it has to be interesting, it has to be unique. It's not going to be weird. It feels weird now, but it's not, and it's not weird to them. Tens of millions of people, right? So this is just the starting point. Right? This is Mark Zuckerberg. This was a couple of months ago. So he was down, I believe it was South America or Central America, and they had an event. Samsung held an event to release the Samsung Gear VR, the 360 headset. And everyone had the headset on. So Mark Zuckerberg just walked past 1,000 people right up to front stage, and nobody noticed because they were all in their virtual reality world, which was pretty funny. But this is what he said about 360 and VR. It's going to change the way we live, work, and communicate. And Facebook is investing heavily in 360 and VR. Right? They own Oculus Rift. They partner with Samsung Gear VR. They just launched a 360 camera. These are big companies with a lot of capital, a lot of technology, and understand where it's going. And Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, Samsung, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're all in. If you think this is fringe, it's not. This is the future of marketing. This is the future of content. This is the future of video. It may not be everything. I'm not saying every video is going to be 360. But this is just the beginning. We're in year one. We're in year one. Where is this going to go? It's infinite. So my time is obviously limited here. We have a marketer's guide to 360 VR video. I'm not just plugging. There's some really great information there, way deeper than I could get in 30 minutes. Just our website, boldworldwide.com/digimarcon. And you can go download it for free, check it out. Hopefully it helps some of you guys. So anyway, if I think about this back to 20 years ago, when I said I knew that video online on the internet was going to be something that people wanted to download videos, as excited as I was back then and as confident that that would change my career, I am even more excited and more confident about what 360 is going to do to content, to marketers, and for brands. Thank you, guys.